Hi there folks, well it's been an interesting couple of weeks in the UK. In my area we've had up to 8 inches of snow, it's been freezing cold, and I've also not been very well during that period, so not able to speak on any videos, but we are now getting back onto the game reviews, and the next game I'm going to review is considered by most to be a classic. Originally released by Software Projects and re-released by Mastertronic in 1989. It is the supposedly classic Manic Miner. Let's load it up. Now, you'll notice I say supposedly classic. I actually don't like Manic Miner. I've never liked it. Used to play it on my BBC Micro, hated it. Played it on the Spectrum, don't like it. Never played the Commodore 64 version before. I suspect I'm not going to like it either. So I'll warn you in advance that this is not going to be a very impartial review of Manic Miner. It's more going to be the reasons why I hate Manic Miner. So let's take a look at the cover in a bit more detail, and it is a MAD release, as you can see on the left hand side, and it does take a few elements from the original Software Projects cover art. We've got Miner Willie's foot down the bottom there, and we've got the big mutant telephone, but they seem to have somehow messed up the transplanting of the artwork because they've cut one of its toenails off there by the looks of it. And we've also got this naff yellow background and this new logo, which is kind of a graffiti style. So overall, not very good work on the front cover. And on the spine we've got the usual stuff, Manic Miner written in yellow. And on the back we've got some screenshots and intro to the game. Poisonous pansies, spiders, slime, violent robots, mine the valuable metals and make your fortune. Yeah, whatever. So taking a look inside, and unfortunately the inlay of mine has split, so it's in several pieces. So we've got the introduction to the game, usual stuff, how you get onto the next level, etc. And then on the inside, oh, fallen to bits, we've got the loading instructions and the keys. And we've also got the usual foreign language translations, but I particularly wanted to pick out the German one. Here we can see mention of brutalen Robotern Ausweisen, which sounds particularly nasty. And also, I'm not sure what a Reichtum Gelangen is, but it doesn't sound very pleasant either. And we've also got the Italian instructions, which say the same stuff, obviously. So here we have the title screen of Manic Miner, with a terrible rendition of the Blue Danube, not using the SID chip on the Commodore 64 in any way, shape or form. So I think we've probably heard enough of that. So let's press return to start. Actually, let's just hang on a moment, because you do get a little scrolling message across the bottom of the screen, which I'd forgotten about. Converted by Chris and Chris Lancaster, from the original program by, of course, Matthew Smith. And a little bit of instruction about what you're supposed to do, as if anybody doesn't know by now. And then once it's finished its scrolling message, it starts to give a rolling demo of all the different levels. Now, this definitely didn't happen in the BBC Micro version. Don't know about the Spectrum version, but you can actually move around when you go into these little demos, to the point where you can actually get points. I've scored 200 points on the rolling demo of all the screens, which is actually kind of fun. And this is probably the only way I'll get to play some of these screens. But it's not that fun. So it goes through all the different levels, but you can just press return to start, I think. Back to the beginning of the horrible title screen. So let's get on with the game. So here we are, the infamous Central Cavern. And you navigate Miner Willie around, left, right and jump are your only controls. So let me start telling you why I don't like Manic Miner. Well, the first thing is, Miner Willie is really slow. He just plods along, not taking any account of the fact that his air is running out. He moves at a snail's pace, And then the second thing is the jump that he does, which just goes on forever. It's got to be the slowest jump in gaming, I reckon. And this first level is one of the most inaccessible levels of any game ever made, rivaled only by Donkey Kong and probably Donkey Kong Jr. as being one of the toughest opening screens of any game ever made. What happened there? I was nowhere near that stalactite then, it's just killed me. The collision detection is bloody awful in this. Probably the worst collision detection than the B or Spectrum version, but it's absolutely dire. So I'll give it another try. Oh, and I've died again. That probably was actually my fault for not jumping soon enough. Oh, I was way past that, and that's game over already. The collision detection is awful. So I'll try and be a bit more careful and get a bit further in the game. But yeah, one of my big bugbears about the game is the fact that you can't sort of have any control over the jump. You do this big long arcing jump, and if you realise too late that you've done it wrong, it's tough basically. I was nowhere near that again. So we've got this rock hard opening screen. You've got to jump over this blooming clockwork duck thing at just the right time, otherwise that kills you. Again, there's no way running away from it if it's right on your tail. Let's see if I can actually get to the latter part of the screen this time. At least, oh, it's killed me again. I was nowhere near that. This is just a joke. What part of this game is supposed to be fun? The graphics are pretty dire. I mean, they are just obviously clones of the Spectrum version of the graphics. The music also just seems to be a copy of the Spectrum version, whereas they could have actually used the SID chip on the Commodore 64 to improve the music somewhat. Right, I finally got that right. Oh, now I've destroyed a bit of platform, so I'm never going to get over this bit properly now. Yeah, I'm going straight on that. What a disaster. Okay, so I've persevered and finally collected all the keys on the first level, and now I've got to make my way back to the beginning, and this is another thing that annoys me about this game. Oh, and there goes another life of poor collision detection. But once you've collected everything, you've then got to get right back down to the bottom of the screen, which makes it even more difficult because some of the platforms have dissolved and all the same obstacles still lie in your path as well. It's just totally... it's basically just not fun. It's not that it's unfair. If you learn the patterns of how to play the level well enough, then it's, you know, you can get through every level eventually. But my argument is, why is it any fun? So here we go, I'm nearly at the point of completing the first level. So let's progress on to the second. I'm on the second level, and strangely enough it's actually easier than the first level, I think, this one. But what I want to highlight again is a big bugbear of mine about Manic Miner is that basically there's only one way to complete each level. Whereas a game like Chucky Egg, for example, there was, you know, you could basically, there were limitations on what you could do, but you could wander around the level however you liked to collect all the eggs, and then the level completed. In Manic Miner, as far as I'm aware, for most of the levels I'm aware of, there's only one way to complete each one, which is incredibly annoying. There's nothing better in a game than having the flexibility to tackle levels however you like, and this just doesn't have it. However, I have completed this level, or as good as long as I get past this penguin, and it is significantly easier than the first level. Which takes me on to the third level, the menagerie, which involves jumping over birds and things. So let's see how I get on with this one. So as I mentioned, the graphics are pretty naff. even for 1984 or whenever the game was originally released, they were pretty naff. Oh, disaster. Oh, that's ridiculous. That's it, game over. The graphics are, you know, not great. They're just, you know, really average, even for the 1984. The sound's also pretty mediocre. I just don't get why people think it's such a great game. Even back then it wasn't a great game compared to other stuff coming out like Chucky Egg, for example. So it's a classic, but I don't understand why. And frankly, I don't imagine Mastertronic sold many copies of it anyway, because surely everyone who wanted Manic Miner already had it in 1989. But obviously they thought it was worth re-releasing. Is it worth $2.99? Not on your life for my money, no.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
2, 1, 0.